Hi, I'd like to thank you all for being here today. Does the news that there's a great possibility that my generation's children and maybe even your grandchildren may not ever see a living Amur leopard? This question is why I'd like to inform you on the much needed conservation efforts of this majestic species. According to the Amur Leopard and Tiger Alliance, or ATLA, these are the most endangered big cat on Earth, with only 70 of them left in the wild. I'll give you some background information on the breed, talk about why their conservation matters, and what efforts are being made to conserve the species. So for some background information, the scientific name is Panthera pardus orientalis. The Amur leopard is found in Russia, northeastern China, and the Korean peninsula. These animals can live up to 10 years in the wild, but typically live around 20 years in captivity. These are naturally solitary animals and rarely come in contact with one another besides during or establishing their territories. Females have a territory range of 15 to 38 square miles, and males have a range as big as 155 square miles. The males can weigh between 110 to 120 pounds, and the females between 65 and 75 pounds. They have a body length of 5 feet, and their diet includes sika deer, hares, badgers, mice, and other small animals. The spots of this species of leopard are more widely spaced and have a thicker, broad black lining. The fur colors range from reddish yellow in the summer to yellow in the winter. And all this information is obtained from the Wildlife Conservation Society, or WSC. Why their conservation matters. They are important ecologically, economically, and culturally. According to the World Wildlife Fund, or WWF, they are important in maintaining the population of their prey and the numbers of another endangered species, the Amur tiger. The Zoological Society of London, or ZSL, says that their low numbers are significantly increasing their vulnerability to inbreeding depression, natural catastrophes, and disease. Inbreeding depression is the reduction of biological fitness or ability to survive and reproduce in a given population as a result of a population bottleneck. And just to back up some of this information, I have a journal article from the Conservation Genetics of the Far Eastern Leopard, Panthera pardus orientalis. And the abstract of this article says, the Far Eastern Amur leopard, Panthera pardus orientalis, survives today as a tiny relic of the population of 25 to 40 individuals in the Russian Far East. The population descends from the 19th century Northern Asian subspecies whose range extends over the southeastern Russia, the northern Korean peninsula, and the northeastern China. A molecular genetic survey of nuclear microsatellite and mitochondrial DNA, or mtDNA, sequence variation validates the subspecies distinctiveness, but also reveals a markedly reduced level of genetic variation. The amount of genetic diversity measured is the lowest among leopard subspecies and is comparable to the genetically depleted Florida panther and Asiatic lion populations. When considered in the context of non-physiological perils that threaten small populations, for example, chance mortality, poaching, climatic extremes, and infectious disease, the genetic and demographic data indicate a critically diminished wild population under severe threat of extinction. An established captive population of PP orientalis displays much higher diversity than the wild population sample, but nearly all captive individuals are derived from a history of genetic admixture with adjacent Chinese subspecies. And in the discussion part of this paper, it talks about how the small relic populations sampled here of the orientalis subspecies form the Russian Far East and Northern Korean from Northern Korea, displayed remarkably reduced genomic diversity relative to other leopard subspecies similarly studied. The low level of population-specific alleles in P. orientalis as compared to P. japonoensis, which suggests that this genetic depletion reflects a historic founder effect in isolating P. orientalis, more recently exacerbated by close inbreeding with small isolated populations. Also, the levels of genetic depletion observed among P. orientalis were as extreme as those observed in genetically impoverished Florida panther and the Gir forest lion subspecies, and lower than the Ngorongoro lions and African cheetahs. Each of these feline populations has been shown to suffer from varying congenital and reproductive abnormalities that correlate with their history of close inbreeding. So again, their numbers are decreasing because of loss of habitat due to forest fires, poaching, reduction of their prey species. We as humans are their main predators. Hunters take them as either as trophies for their fur or because we compete with them for deer and other animals. Another concern is that we are setting forest fires in order to make way for cropland and also as a means of disposing of these animals. To me, this is the biggest worry because it is not only taking out the Amur leopards, but it's taking out an entire ecosystem. So what efforts are being made to conserve this species? Most foundations are making efforts to stop poaching and protecting habitat areas. The Amur leopard received a safe haven in 2012 by the government in Russia. The ZSL and ATLA both coordinate together by providing the public with information about the importance of Amur leopard populations and conservation. The ZSL is also working to create a second population of Amur leopards in a reserve. They also coordinate with European Russian zoo breeding programs and the Global Zoo Conservation Program, that is partnership with the Moscow Zoo. They currently have 200 captive Amur leopards as a safety net population. The ZSL works with the Wildlife Health Project to also provide veterinary training, diagnostic lab, and biological sample collection for disease control. The WCS assists with scientific research with trail cameras to indicate population sizes in Russia. They work with local hunting associations to provide wildlife management. WCS also works with the government to improve fire suppression and prevention in this area. In conclusion, if we do not make a conscious effort to better preserve the species, habitat, prey, and population, we will lose them forever. This species is a keystone species for their habitat in which they live. If these numbers are thrown out of balance, the whole ecosystem will go into a downward spiral. Their prey species numbers will become uncontrollable and will in turn become a problem for the plant life by making food scarce for their prey species. Starvation will become inevitable for all parties involved, which is an even bigger problem as well. Better education of the public will be a great asset in spreading the information of this dire situation. There is a chain reaction to everything. If you remove one link from the chain, the whole chain becomes damaged. Thank you.
Oh.